marches was good. Give it a minute. Give guys a minute to come up in the building. If the notifications go out. Whatever. We're gonna get into it. Linda Mitchell. Crusader Basements. How y'all doing, freedom marchers? Freedom family? Freedom lovers? What is good? Hold on. Mic check 1 2 1 2. If y'all come in the building, let me know y'all can hear me okay. Turn his head. Anyway, what's good? Freedom March, freedom family, freedom lovers. Welcome to Freedom's March. It's your boy Snapzilla Gorilla, aka The Definition, aka Snap Turtle, whatever you want to call me. Excuse me. It is Friday, March 17th, 2023. And we got cloudy skies. It was raining earlier. It's supposed to rain again later. Got a lot of rain coming in today. But tomorrow's supposed to be clear skies, so I ain't complaining. Was good, was good. I think somebody just stepped up in the building. What's up, what's up? What's up? It's funny though, they're showing that no one's watching, so I think that's very interesting. So, how y'all doing? How are you guys doing? Hope you guys are going to enjoy your weekend and your entire year, the entire rest of your life, man. I just wanted to get on here and talk about something that we're going to have to come to terms with. And that's anybody that is part of this freedom movement, anybody that is an anti-state freedom lover, and understand that in order to be a true freedom lover and a freedom finder and a freedom seeker, you must abandon statism. Okay, statism must be abandoned in order for you to truly embrace freedom. You cannot, it's just impossible. You can try to embrace freedom. You can try to snatch little pieces of freedom here and there. But as long as you uphold the state, well, really what you're doing is wasting a lot of effort. Sometimes you have to pick a side, okay? Either you pick the side of freedom or you pick the side of the state. And, you know, most people will tell you, oh, there's a lot of nuance and this, that, and the third. You got to be this, that. We need regulations on certain things. And, this, you know, the shit that milquetoast fence sitters, self-proclaimed milquetoast fence sitters like Tim Pool would tell you. Oh, well, you know, I believe in freedom, but we need regulation to come to blah, blah, blah. Listen. Understand this. Understand this. Regulation is a form of tyranny, okay? Regulation in the name of safety, regulation in the name of sanitation, all these other things. You know, yeah, you want things to be sanitary. You want things to be safe. And as you go through the process of advancement, you learn what those things are. You learn what's safer. You learn what's this, you learn what's that. And, you know, here's the thing. If you want people if you want people to enjoy these advancements, right? You know, you can self-regulate without government, right? These companies that build these things, do this, do that. You know, no one wants to pollute. No one wants to make things unsafe for everybody and have people dying on construction sites. No one wants that. You know, so you learn along the way, you come up with ideas and you come up with tactics and methods to make things safe. And a company, right? Now, this is just an example of how you can have these advancements and you can build things and have things flourish and grow without government. An example of that is what you could do is, as a company, you want certain things done, right, in a certain way. You want things done in the safest way possible. And if someone wants to come work for you, they have to understand that they will have to abide by these safety rules. As simple as that. And if they don't want to abide by those safety rules, well, then you can fire them. You can get them off the job. You know, just get them off the job. But what it ends up happening is once government gets involved, well, then you have a problem, right? Government likes to overstep. They like to supersede. They like to go above and beyond. They like to take that inch and stretch it to a mile at the expense of the everyday average worker, right? Like the Keystone Pipeline. You know, Joe Biden came through, and with the stroke of a pen, he killed tens of thousands of jobs, right? Tens of thousands of jobs. When, you know, all under the auspices of environmental safety. But, you know, he killed those jobs. And now those people, who knows what those people are doing? Who knows if they're struggling or not? Because of government, they killed the Keystone Pipeline, which they had a way of building that could be the safest way possible. Okay? You know, listen. If it were up to me, you know, as a matter of fact, if it weren't for government, everyone would probably be living more closer to nature, right? You know, they'd be living closer to nature. They wouldn't be having to do all these things with the infrastructure. You wouldn't need all this infrastructure shit going on. Well, because of government and because of how they dealt with infrastructure, because they took control of how infrastructure is built, you know, and because they wanted things to be easier, right? They wanted it to be easier to cross the country. You know, they built these highways and all this other shit, you know, that will take you all across the country. They built the railroads. They did all these things. Well, once you do that, you are encouraging people to crowd in certain areas, right? You build up these cities. Government, you know, by way of government. And then what happens? Well, people get attracted. They want to come to the city. They think it's exciting. You know, they grow up in their little farm and they think, well, I want more to life. There's more to life than this. I want to go to college and all these other things, and I want to go work in a corporate world. And then what happens is, you know, well, now we're living on top of each other. We're creating unsanitary conditions because we're stacking and packing. We don't have a good sewer system. So, you know, advancement was going to happen. But it didn't have to happen to the degree that it's happening right now. And, you know, the more things advance, the more control government has. And the point is to recognize that government, at the end of the day, is a destructive force. It's a net negative, okay? Because even the good, positive things they do come at the expense of someone else. right? Like they're talking about in San Francisco with the reparations. They're going about it the whole wrong way, right? I believe that reparations are owed, but it has to be done in a certain way. Well, in San Francisco, they're talking, it's not going to happen. It's never going to happen. They're talking about paying reparations to black families. I think there's like 5 million people, and they're all each going to get $5 million, something like that, $5 million. Here's why I think reparations ain't going to happen. Because if reparations were going to happen, they would have happened. They keep wanting to do all these studies and all this research to determine if, well, do the descendants of slaves deserve, like not deserve it, but how we're going to do it, how we're going to implement it. It's, I don't think it's going to happen. I believe it'll happen when people actually get that money in their account. But here's the thing. Once they do pay reparations out, that'll be good for the descendants of slaves who actually deserve it. But it's going to come at the expense, at least in San Francisco, of non-black families. They're going to have to dish out about $600,000 per family. What does that mean? That means more taxes. I think Black Spring with Autumn is in the building. They're going to have to increase the taxes of those non-black families in San Francisco. And I don't believe that is the right way to pay reparations. This is not, because you're taking the money out of the hands of people, they shouldn't be paying it. Right? They shouldn't be paying it. I don't think they should be paying it. Who should be paying it, unless it's a wealthy family that you can tie their wealth to slavery, then you go after that. You go after the corporations that have benefited directly from slavery. That's who you go after. Because otherwise, all you're going to do is you're going to create resentment, and it's going to be a problem. Watch. And if they do that nationwide, oh man, it's going to be a big problem. You go after the corporations that still exist today, billion-dollar corporations, totaling into the trillions. You go after them for reparations, and the odds are a lot of these corporations are still benefiting from some form of corporate welfare, right? Government subsidies and all government contracts where they're getting sweetheart deals, where they're getting their greases palmed, where they willing and dealing with the elites that run the government. These people, right? These people, the families that, the Rockefellers and all them, those are the people that should be paying reparations, not the motherfucker down the street who may be a descendant of a slave owner, but have they gotten their wealth from that? And if they haven't, well, then, a blanket tax, y'all know I don't believe in taxes anyway, taxing people for shit. It's extortion. It's extortion. So I have to be consistent in that regard. Oh, absolutely, the royal family. Any family or corporation that have benefited directly from slavery, and you can tie their wealth to slavery, which they can do. That's even if, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that includes black families. If there's black families of, they're descendants of black slave owners in this country that had slaves. If you have wealth that can be tied directly to that, hey man, That's just what it is. For instance, my grandmother was white, right? And her father was a wealthy white oil baron on the West Coast. Now, I'm not sure if any of that wealth came from slavery, right? I know that his money's tied to oil. But let's say, because he cut off my grandmother. Like, he cut my grandmother off after she got with a black man, okay? After she got dicked down by a black man, started having babies, she got cut off from the wealth. So, let's say that wasn't the case. Let's say that she inherited that money and it passed down to me and my other siblings and all this other shit, my mama. Let's say that money was tied to slavery. Well, if they determine, look, you got to pay reparations, and if you can tie my money that I inherited directly to slavery, I would just say, all right, well, I would say go ahead. But how much, let's figure it out. Let's figure out how much of it should be paid out to descendants of slaves. But then at the same time, I have family on my dad's side that were slaves. They were all slaves. So only one branch of my family from my grandmother back were white. So, but I'm not sure if they were slave owners. I'm not sure at all. I don't know how far that lineage goes back in the United States. But I'm saying, for instance, if I inherited wealth from the white side of my family tree that could be tied directly to slavery, being as how I believe reparations should be paid out, well, I would have no choice but to say, okay, let's divvy it out. But at the same time, because my other side was slaves, well, we're gonna have to divide it properly. Make sure that you don't take too much, because anyway, that's how that should work. It shouldn't come from just random people that live in San Francisco. Like, you have to make sure that you can trace their wealth back to slavery. That's only fair. That's only fair, because there were white families that didn't own slaves. But if it weren't for government, yeah, you probably have slaves. There probably would have been slaves, but I don't know, man. Government is destruction. Government is destruction. People think that government is necessary. Oh, we need the government to build bridges and roads and hospitals and shit like that. I don't believe that bullshit. It's complete and utter. It's a cop-out. You hear that from people who don't want to be responsible for their own lives. And it's really kind of sad. And that's why I say some people are just going to have to get left behind, man. When it's time to do what you got to do, right? When resistance becomes duty to the point where you can't avoid it any longer, well, guess what? The people that are really going to ride are going to ride. And you're not going to convince people that don't want to ride out to ride out. At this point, it's time to stop trying to convince people. All you can do is keep putting out the information. Don't stress over who's going to receive it properly. Don't stress over, who is going to make something of it and do something to fight for their freedom. It's a waste of energy. We need to build. we need to get certain things established, and we can't keep, getting dragged down by people that don't want to hear, that don't want to accept the truth. At the end of the day, they believe that their truth is the government has a right to do certain things. And that's what they believe. And sometimes it's going to take certain people traumatic events, right, to really grasp it. And then they'll come around. Some people can't learn from other people's mistakes. Some people can only learn when they themselves make those mistakes. And sometimes it's too late. Yeah, you learned your lesson, but the damage is already beyond repair. And so now, you really got nothing to live for. No, you want to do something when you do have something to live for. You want to do something when you have something to salvage, right? Like your family, your wife, your children, other members of your family. You want to make sure that you still have something to fight for. You don't want to wait until something bad happens, right? And unfortunately, it takes some people for that to happen in order for them to actually care about freedom. Because see, right now, they're comfortable. They're comfortable. Right now, those people are comfortable. They're comfortable slaves. They don't want to be bothered. They don't, you know what I mean? Like, some people are so... Some people just don't want to be bothered, man. They just want to live their life. They want to go to work every day, and they want to pay their bills, and they want to happily pay their taxes. They don't want to hear nothing about all the injustices going on, all the bullshit, all the lies. They don't want to hear anything about the Modelo lies, right? Look at all the Modelo 19 lies that we have been told for the last 2-3 years, right? Look at the lies that we have been told, right? The lab leak shit. Oh, it was a wet market, all this, that, and the third, right? Oh, it's killing all these people. And listen, they were telling us from the beginning. They told us. Fauci and the old girl, and I haven't heard from her in a long time. The lady that was kind of like Fauci's partner in crime. I forgot her name. She told you that, hey, man, it doesn't matter if they died from Modelo or because of Modelo. Every death where an individual has been determined that they had Modelo is a Modelo death. You would think back then in 2020, people would, no, okay, these motherfuckers lying. To me, that's telling me that even if someone died clearly of another cause, and they have been determined to have Modelo 19, we're going to call it a Modelo 19 death. Even if Modelo 19 did not cause the death. They told you that. Dr. Ezekiel, or whatever her name is, from Illinois. The head doctor person there. She told you. Even if you have Modelo 19 and you die of a clear alternate cause, but you have Modelo 19, we're going to call it a Modelo 19 death. And I broke down the numbers. But, I mean, they told you. They told you only 6% of those deaths could be attributed to the Modelo. But people still trust and believe in and acquiesce to the government. But this was government orchestrated. And, you know, some people came around, right? If you didn't come around at that point, I believe that there's no hope. I'm going to just come out and say it. There is no hope for the individual that actually continued to trust government after they told you that they were lying to you. After they told you that they were manipulating the stats and putting it up on that big ass death map. If you did not turn to the light side by then my friends, you are in the dark. Your people are in the dark. If you know people that still trust government to this day, again, all you can do is continue to pass information off, and they'll receive it or they won't. But the odds are they're stuck on stupid, or they don't give a fuck. And most people are stuck on stupid. The rest, they're not gonna give a fuck. They're gonna be that guy from The Matrix. That the guy in the movie The Matrix who was dealing with Agent Smith on the low because he wanted to be put back in the Matrix because he wanted to eat steak. He wanted to have the taste of steak on his tongue, right? He wanted to be in the Matrix. So he caused all kind of problems. Those are the ones you want to watch out for, right? Because they'll convince you, oh yeah. I'm with it. I'm with the program. But there are going to be inconsistencies and there's going to be some anomalies. That motherfucker ain't shit. All right? And they'll expose themselves to you because they're inconsistent. They're inconsistent. Right? They're inconsistent and they're not willing to lose people. If they aren't willing to lose people, if they are chameleons, right? Because you know there are chameleons out there that will shift and change according to who they're talking to or what we're talking about, and they're inconsistent. Like, they'll believe in one thing the government does and bitch about the government in another way. There are a lot of these people out there. Excuse me. A lot of them are Republican and on the right. If they holler at you about freedom, if they talk about freedom this, freedom that, truth this, truth that, tyranny this, tyranny that, and they believe in law and order, if they say anything about law and order in the positive, if they say, oh, we need law and order and all that bullshit, well, guess what? They are likely one of the people that will not be on your side if it comes to the point where you have to take up some bang-bangs, okay? When it comes time to pick up some bang-bangs and go bang-bang, now you don't want it to come to that, but if at some point it does, guess what? They're going to be a problem. The law and order people. Watch out for the law and order people. In fact, I would say it's probably easier to convince people on the left that are anti-government, right? But for the wrong reasons. See, these people on the left that are anti-government, they are anti-government that is in place. They want to replace it with some other shit. They want to be socialist and all this other Marxist That's a problem. But Marx did not believe in government. See, they got it fucked up. What Marx believed in is everybody gets equal share of the fucking shit. All, that's, and that the bourgeoisie should not be overseeing, the bourgeoisie, the elites, should not be having control over the proletariat. Okay? That everybody has an equal opportunity and an equal right to gather and gain resources and gain whatever level of wealth they want to gain. But see, what he had a problem with were the elites monopolizing the resources and not allowing other people to get bars, right? If you're saying, oh, I want to bar that, right? No, they'll use force, and they'll use government enforcement, which the proletariat pays for. You see, this is when it becomes a problem, right? You create this government, the central government that taxes the people, right? They extort wealth from people in order to keep those same people down, while they get access to all the goody shit, right? That's the system we live under now. That's what happens under every government system. At the end of the day, when you get right down to it, if there is a government, whether it's a communist government, whether it's a constitutional republic, whether it's a democracy, a pure democracy like but before, that's where Rome, that's where it started. But you get what I'm saying. Before it was because they came up with the constitutional republic where they had these representatives in Rome. Before it came to that, you had pure democracy in certain parts of the world. And when you had that pure democracy, even that was a problem. So every system of government, at the end of the day, when you strip it down to the bare bones of what it is, every system is about the elite controlling, right? Controlling the wealth, controlling the resources through extortion, right? Using force, using law enforcement, and using the military to gain further resources by force. I don't know what you heard, but I don't know the last thing you heard, but so it doesn't matter whether it's a dictatorship, a totalitarian government, a utilitarian government, any form of government. What it's about is a central body of individuals that use force to control the peons, the proletariat. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what system you have. It's just a different way they go about it. Some are more, some systems of government are more openly tyrannical than others, right? Like China and North Korea are clearly openly tyrannical, right? South Korea, not so much, right? You get the illusion that, hey, you get to vote for shit. Then you got the monarchy in Great Britain. And, you have all these different systems. What it's about is, listen, I am an elite individual, and I believe my IQ is higher than 99% of people. And so then I'm going to convince people that they need me and my other little elite friends to control their lives for their own good. And some people might actually believe they're doing it for the people's own good. But at the end of the day, it's about monopolizing and, it's about monopolizing and, spoon feeding the people that really hold you up. These people cannot rule over the people unless those people hold them up in high regard. right? It's all based on illusion, right? Illusion that we need them. And, you know, it's really, it's of our nature, right? It's part of the human nature to want to be led and to want to be leaders, right? You know, some people have better ideas and better strategies than others, and so people look up to them for leadership. And there's nothing wrong with that. The problem becomes when those so-called leaders start to become bosses and dictators. Their head get inflated because they think, oh, well, look at all these people looking up to me. They'll do what I say. And then you start to use that trust and abuse that trust. And then now all of a sudden, you are isolating yourself from these people and surrounding yourself with guards. Excuse me. With guards. You've convinced certain individuals of the elite, of the proletariat class, to form a wall of protection around you. And soon, that wall of protection becomes a wall of enforcement, because now you're starting to dictate orders. You're starting to, you know, you're not guiding, you're not showing the way, you're not leading by example anymore. You are now ruling. You are now dictating. You are now bossing people around. You're now telling people what they need to do, what they're supposed to do. And you've gotten drunk on that power, right? You gotten drunk on that power. You got drunk on the idea that, hey, look at all these people that look up to me. You know, I got them out of a few jams. I've helped build this community. My ideas helped build this community, and they look up to me, and they'll do whatever the fuck I want. They'll do whatever I say. But then you got those outliers that'll looking at me like, oh shit, look at this motherfucker. He getting a little too big for his britches. And so that's why you form these, that's why you get these guards and these these guards to protect you from those outliers, from those individuals that are looking at you and questioning your leadership. See, you don't want your leadership questioned. So now those individuals that are sycophants and kiss your ass and suck your booty hole out, they are going to protect you. They're going to ensure that no one fucks with you and that everybody does what you say. That's how it starts. That's how it starts. That's how these dictatorships, the rulerships, this is how they start, man. And why did it start this way? Well, because the people developed cult of personality disorder. The people developed cult of personality disorder, and when he started to show signs of, hey, look at me, I'm the king now. When he started to show signs that he was indeed a boss or a dictator or somebody who, you know, what his word is what's law. Once he starts creating laws, it starts using force, it starts to not give people choices, it starts to, you know, do all these other things. The people, they were like, well, maybe this is for the best. And you know what? It could be. He could have said, oh, this needs to happen. And he could be very well right. And then somebody said, nah, we shouldn't do it like that. And they're wrong, right? But instead of handling it diplomatically, like, okay, so tell me why you think your way is the best way, right? Because that's what a good leader does. A good leader is going to hear people out when they have ideas, because the leader understands that they're not the smartest person in the room. In order to be a good leader, you have to understand that you're not the smartest person in the room. In this instance, you were right. The other guy was wrong. But you're starting to say, well, shit, I don't want my leadership questioned. I know this is the best way to do it. So then you shut him down in whatever way you shut that person down. And it worked out for you because all the people around you, they are deferring to you, and they're helping you shut this cat down. And you're like, man, this is great. What I say goes. That's how these things start. That's how these people. This is how the dictator is born. This is how the dictator is born. This is how the tyrant is born. You see, you go from a dictator to a tyrant. You start building walls. You start coming up with ordinances and rules and laws and other things that have nothing to do with preventing one person from violating another person. And again, you might be correct. You might say, hey, don't shit in this stream, okay? Don't shit in this irrigation system. Don't piss in this irrigation system because guess what? It goes into the groundwater where we get our water from. Don't do that shit, right? You might be right. But guess what? If somebody does shit in there and piss in there, you're going to now have your guards go and exile that motherfucker. Like you're a destruction to the community. You're destructive. You got to go. Instead of, right? Because look, this is the bottom line. You made it clear that if you piss and shit in this stream, we have our groundwater is downstream from the point where you're pissing and shitting, and it's going to contaminate our groundwater and where our well is. If you can demonstrate that, then there are certain ways you can go about once he violates that. What he's doing is he is knowingly, right? He's disregarding the health of the people in the community. So he has to pay somehow, right? But what you what you want to do, because you're the leader and now you're a little bit of a dictator now, instead of, because maybe his house is there, right? And I don't know, maybe his plumbing doesn't work. I don't know, whatever reason he wants to continue to shit and piss in that same spot. There are different ways to go about it. He violated. He said, you know what? And maybe he's not the sharpest tool in the shed. Maybe he's just a prick who doesn't like being told what to do. You got to be able to deal with those people as well. Well, there are ways to go about handling that situation. What you can do is dam the stream in a certain way, right? Or you can create another man-made stream to something of a septic ditch or something like that, where you dig underground. I know it's a lot of work to be doing for this guy who wants to continue to shit and piss in the same goddamn spot. But, present alternatives. Show that, listen, man, we're trying to work with this guy. We're trying to give him an alternative. Look, we built this septic tank here, and this is the best place. Now we have another stream or another irrigation system, another plumbing system that can get his shit and piss into this septic ditch or this septic reservoir, where it can be broken down and go back into the soil instead of fucking in our goddamn drinking water, right? Boom. You just presented an alternative. And the next thing you know, from there, well, we can do this for everybody, for everyone's home. And boom, now you've created a solution to the problem you're having with dealing with waste. Y'all get what I'm saying? But instead, no, you want to just make an example out of them without consulting and talking to the people and trying to determine the best way to go about it. Not through democracy, right? Not through democracy. Because now you're only going to involve the people that are affected by this. And you're going to say, hey, this guy, he's out of control. We got to go talk to him. Whatever you got to do. And if enough people go talk to him and say, hey, you're going to stop doing this shit or we're going to have problems. My kids drink out of that well. Yes. Is this the way, is this the long way around? Yeah. But guess what? The long way around is better than the tyrannical way, which is to have him exiled, throw him off his goddamn property, and now he, leave him out of, you don't have to do that. Now, if he's just straight up belligerent and he ain't got no sense and he's like, fuck you, and he, if he's like, fuck y'all and all that other shit, then you have to deal with that. At that point, you got to make an example out of him. The people have to make an example out of him, right? They have to decide, because now you are creating problems for the community, right? And that's a system. That's a system that everybody agreed to when they decide to live in that community. It's not a democracy. You understand that if you live in our community, there's a certain system by which we live for the betterment of the entire community, to keep everybody safe, right? That's what it's about. If you deliberately violate, all this other shit, you got to go. That is the way it works in this small community where people voluntarily decide to set roots and live. And now you have created what is a voluntary system. This is how we do it here. Excuse me. If you don't like it, you don't have to live here. If you do like it, you are volunteering to be a part of this community, then guess what? You got to go by the system. And we don't have a system of government where, all this other shit. We might have something of a quorum, or however you want to do it, however you want to be set up. Everyone has to agree to it. And if they don't all agree, it's not getting done like that. You know what I'm saying? Unlike in a democracy where the majority gets to decide. But, that's an example of how it can work with extremely limited government. Because some people argue, oh, well, that's still a government. Okay, whatever you want to say, all right? Because they are so enamored and in love with government, and they can't see how life without government. They will argue up and down that government, you can apply the term government to every goddamn thing. That's what they want to believe, because they love the government so much. And you can't convince some people. But that just isn't government. Government is a system. Listen, government is about control, right? To govern is to control. You're not doing that in a small community where people are volunteering to. You're volunteering, right? You're volunteering to be a part of this system in this community, right? And that's as simple as that. There are no enforcers running around. There's no jackbooted thugs running around making you do this, forcing you to pay taxes, doing all these things, because you cannot have government without extortion. You can't have government without a redistribution of wealth. And that's not what it's about. And that's not what it will be about in these small communities. You're volunteering. You're volunteering to contribute financially. You know what I'm saying? You that's what you're doing. Some people just, but they have to be in Hawaii, right? They have to be in Hawaii and have somebody way in Washington, D.C. dictate how they can live their fucking life. Dictate when, you know what I mean? I wait, why am I getting taxed by the federal government? I'm in Hawaii. This motherfucker's in Washington. This motherfucker's 7,000-8,000 miles away. It's a completely asinine. Completely asinine. It just doesn't make any sense. That's where the problem comes in. The problem comes in when you got Sleepy Joe, who you never met in your life, you know, coming up with these executive orders of what you can and can't do with this, that, and the third, and, you know, shutting down, killing thousands, tens of thousands of jobs, causing inflation. Like, these are things that should not be affecting individuals thousands of miles away from you. You know, it's completely retarded. It's completely out of control. You know, and that's where we're at. That's why we're in the position we're in, because we say, hey, it's a good idea to have this little central government in this little District of Columbia having supremacy over all the states. Who decided that it was a good idea for the supremacy clause to be in the Constitution? Who decided that? Who decided that it was a good idea to put a supremacy clause that would give the ultimate say to the federal government in the Constitution? And then at the same time, having the 10th Amendment, which talks about state powers. Who thought it was a good idea? Who thought it, you know what, this is a fucking great idea. I know we put the 10th Amendment in there, but we also have the Supremacy Clause. Fuck it. So does the Supremacy Clause supersede and overblow and over, like, where does the Supremacy Clause begin and the 10th Amendment begin, right? I know it says power is not allotted to the federal government, it goes to the states. I'm paraphrasing. But, I mean, come on, man. Who decided that? The Constitution, it's not really in your favor to the fullest degree. The Constitution shouldn't be to exist. Because the Constitution is supposed to place limitations on the government and tell government what it can and can't do, right? It's supposed to explain the powers that they have. But see, that's where the problem is. Why do these entities have power in the first place? Why do we need an executive branch? Why do we need a legislative branch? Why do we need a judicial branch? When we have a system, we shouldn't need all that, right? As free people should not need that, right? But we feel like we need it because we're in everybody's business. And when you get in everybody's business and you go all around the world invading other countries, stripping them of resources, well, you really put yourself in a position where, you know, we kind of need to form, or we need to keep this shit in place just to protect us from being invaded by our enemies. But I will say, you know, you can still do that without government, right? You know, it just being in control of the people. That's really what it's about. It's about consent of the governed. We're giving consent to be governed, yo. And that's where we're at. And people are like, okay, well, that's just what it is. And those are the people that, hey, those are the ones that are going to hesitate. those are the people that are going to, they're not gonna be of any use. If an individual believes that rights were given to them by the Constitution, they're lost, right? If they believe that. And you might be able to convince them. But if it takes you more than 5 minutes, it might be time to move on, okay? Because spending more than 5 minutes on people like that, I mean, listen, man. It's time to start focusing on our energy on people who know what's up and build from there. And if they don't build, you have to continue, right? If they don't want to build with you, then you got to continue to build. You got to find people you want to build with. You got to build for yourself. You got to build for your family. You know, until such time that it's time to make something happen, we have to start building now. We can't wait until shit hits the fan to build, right? We got to build now while the getting is good. You know, how you do that? And either you want to build or you don't. But anybody that understands how important freedom is and how important being liberated is, knows that there are certain things that has to be done. And right now, you know, we're in the best position in the world, right? People in the United States. Because we do have, well, our rights to keep and bear arms are, I don't want to say intact because they're not, right? They're being infringed upon 24/7, but we still have firearms. We still have more firearms than any other country in the world as far as the citizenry go, right? As far as the people go, most guns in the country per capita, right? So that kind of gives us the edge, whether you want to believe it or not. I know what Biden said. Biden said, well, if you ain't got an F-16 or a if you don't have an F-16 or a nuclear warhead and all this bullshit, then you know there really is no way to fight tyranny. But I would like to point him to Afghanistan. And what a clusterfuck that was. And how we left $85 billion worth of sensitive military equipment in Afghanistan, and the Taliban took the country over overnight. We were there for over 20 years. We were in Afghanistan for over 20 years. And these motherfucking Taliban took the country back over in less than a week. Right? And we left the most strategically placed airbase in that region up for grabs. We just abandoned it. And guess where this airstrip is? This air base is not far from a Chinese motherfucking installment in Pakistan. Okay? We're talking about we spent billions of dollars building this airstrip. Right? With all the military might of the US government, with all the drones, with all the F-16s and all the, you know, all the tanks and all this, all that, all these weapons, all these night vision goggles, which were mad expensive and better than the Nogs I had when I was in the motherfucking military, because the Nogs I had were pain in the ass, okay? But this is the same man that said that we would need F-16s. Listen, come on. Listen. They couldn't even motherfucking do shit. They couldn't even listen. Oh man, like now, could they have just completely wiped out the entire country of Afghanistan? No, yeah, they could have, right? But they wanted the poppy and other things, and the lithium, and this, and that, and this. It was about the resources, right? That's what Afghanistan was about. And what resources do we have here? Well, we got oil. We got all kind of resources in the United States. Resources. The United States is rich in resources, okay? Not as rich as Africa, but we got some shit going on. And the semiconductors, we can extract that shit right here. But hey, they were doing it in Taiwan, so again, why are we all up in Taiwan's ass? The bottom line is that government is a criminal organization, and that's just what it is. They commit all the crime, okay? Every minute the government exists, every second, every millisecond that the government is in existence is a millisecond that crime is being committed against the people. It just can't work any other way. Government cannot exist without stripping, without redistribution, without the destruction of wealth. The wealth of the proletariat as a whole. And who benefits most from this? Well, the elite class, of course. The bankers, right? The big corporations that get all these subsidies and all these other things. Listen, all the lobbyists, right? Because that's who they really work for. That's who our representatives work for. Our representatives work for the highest bidder. They work for the highest bidder. They can choose to work for the people, but they decide to work for the special interest groups. And that's why it's gotten so out of hand. That's why we're spending money on bullshit. That's why our money is going to bullshit, okay? How happy hamsters are when they bust a nut. Like, these are the type of things that we're spending our money on. We're spending our money on gain of function research, okay, for germs that one in particular caused a worldwide pandemic, or so they say. That's what our money went to. Our money went to causing a pandemic. This is what government does. How many people died in the name of protecting us from the Modelo 19? How many excess deaths not related to Modelo 19, but are attributed to our government's response to Modelo 19? And every hour of every day, some new information is coming out. New information is coming out damn near every day to show you that they are fucking you up the ass with no Vaseline. No Vaseline, motherfuckers. No Vaseline. They are screwing you me too. Every inch. They're screwing you inch by inch. And now look at the banking systems. Who's surprised? Who's surprised that after 3 years of money printing, 3 years of money printing just out of nowhere. Let's put some ones and zeros everywhere we can do it. All right. And then setting it up. Listen, these people know how scammers work. So they know it so well that they created the perfect program for people to scam the government with. The PPP loans, the unemployment insurance boosts, all those type, the EBT, they knew that they would lose billions of dollars. Okay, really, they did. We lost billions of dollars because we paid for the shit with our extortion money. But some of us got that back with those scams. So as far as I see it, those scammers just got their money back. Now, some of them never worked a day in their life, so they never had to pay a cent of tax. And yeah, they basically stole from the people. But a lot of them, hey, but they set it up perfectly. They told people who was going to apply for unemployment based on, what do they call things? Where you work and you, what do they call that? Like the Uber motherfuckers. Not the Uber people, but like tutors and babysitters and those type of people that take their money cash. They set it up perfectly for anybody to claim that they got money. They worked and their money stopped because of the pandemic. Yeah, my money stopped from all that babysitting and all that tutoring I was doing. It stopped coming. So these people were able to get. Listen, man, they set it up perfectly for the scammers. Perfectly. And then the government, ED told them motherfuckers, oh, you don't need to provide any proof. You don't need no receipts. You don't need this. You don't need that. You don't need none of that to initiate your claim and get your money. And these motherfuckers collected money for months. Tens of thousands, like upwards to $10 to $15 to $20,000, depending on how much they claimed. Right? They set it up perfectly for scammers to get this to scam it. And then, what did they do? They came through later on and said, hey, after it was all said and done, after about a year or two of these people, or a year and a half of people collecting this money, they say, hey, yeah, we're going to need this receipt, we're going to need that, we're going to need a declaration, we're going to need an affidavit. They came out and said, you're going to need all that shit. And if you ain't got it, we're getting our money back. You see what I'm saying? With penalties. These people, the government, and I knew it. I was like, this is gonna get scammed like a motherfucker. They're gonna scam the shit out of this. I was working during the pandemic, so I didn't have to use it. But you get what I'm saying. There was a point where, maybe like a few months where I didn't work, but I was using my regular unemployment then because I had a regular ass job. I didn't have to motherfucking do it the way they did it. But you get my point. Scamming like a motherfucker. They set it up. And with the PPP loan. You know what I'm saying? Oh yeah, I got this employee, I got that employee. And not even just the PPP loan. There's all these other loans, these forgivable loans. Listen, tells you something is what it is. Always believe the opposite. The forgivable loans, no, it's unforgiving, my friends. It's unforgiving if you ain't got a certain amount of paperwork. Sinus is acting up a little bit. I'm fighting a little bit of mucus, y'all, but I'm keeping it at bay. Keeping it at bay. But y'all get what I'm saying, man. And after all that, after all this, After they told you, listen, you know, I went to the doctor yesterday because I'm about to get my factory shut down. I'm shutting down the factory, y'all. I'm shutting down my factory. I'm getting my shit snipped, getting it cut. No more, no mas. Okay, no more of them little things. No sir, I'm getting my shit cut. But I went to get the consultation yesterday, and these motherfuckers still require fucking face flags. They still require fucking masks in the medical facility. Why? Now that might not have anything to do with the government directly, but listen, man. Why are they still requiring face flags? Matter of fact, when I got into actual doctor's office, she said you can take that shit off, man. My urologist, she said take that shit off, man. You ain't gotta wear that. She didn't say it like that, but she said you can take that shit off. This you don't need it. And everybody essentially told me that, even though the can y'all hear me? We're good? Okay. But like I was saying, man, I think I'm gonna go ahead and shut this down. But y'all get it. You can't convince everybody. You can't even convince half the people. You can't even convince a third of the people. Maybe not even a quarter. But, and guess what, man? You see, people don't, this is the problem I think people are having. The idea of the sacrifice, right? People are afraid of the idea of the sacrifice that might have to be made. You might have to make certain sacrifices. You might have to get uncomfortable. You might have to be off the grid. You might have to, you know, be cut off. These are things that you might have to deal with. You might have to deal with death, you know. But what you have to understand is, and what you need to know about yourself is, are you okay with that? Are you ready to maybe have to deal with that? That's just something that, you know, unfortunately, that's what happens when you have these things going on. You can't fight tyranny and everybody comes out smelling like roses and everybody comes out the other side unscathed. There's going to be some scathing. There's going to be scathing whether you resist or not. And I can tell you, it's going to get worse. It's going to be worse if you don't resist than if you do. Because if you don't, yeah, once they accomplish what they want to accomplish, it's going to be nigh impossible for you to do anything about it. It's going to be way more difficult. Because You won't have your freedom tools. You won't have your freedom seeds. All the information is going to be controlled. It's going to be propagandized. They are going to really, it's going to be a herd. They're going to herd you around. And that, to me, is much worse than the alternative. The alternative that happens when you do resist. The possibility of what could happen if you rise up and resist. Some people that resist, they are going to suffer greatly, because those are the people that are going to be snatched up, bags put over their head. They're going to be taken to a black site, and they're going to put them through the paces. Some people will suffer greatly. Some people will suffer more than others resisting. But that's just physical anguish, right? And some mental anguish. But imagine the level of anguish you'll experience if you don't resist when they get their way. Imagine the level of anguish that your children will suffer through if they get their way. Ooh. That's not something that I'm okay with. And so resistance, to me, that's the only option. That's the only option for me. Because you know what these people want, man. You know what they want. They're sick. They're nasty. They want your children. They're perverts. They're groomers. They are people like Jon Stewart, who will tell you that there isn't a problem with children canoodling and being introduced in around drag shows and all this, that, and the third. They won't have to go to Korea to get their baby foreskin to inject into their face and their eyelids. No. They can just harvest whatever they need and play with whatever they need from the pool of people that they have managed to ultimately have their way with. And there are a lot of those people out there that they think life is going to be like those people in Japan where there's no guns and all those people don't have guns. There is a high suicide rate in Japan, right? So when you try to compare countries that don't have guns to countries that do, look at that country. Do you really want to live in a country like that? No, I don't. But I'm gonna leave y'all with that, man. I'm going to continue my drive to South Carolina, to home. And it's been great talking to you guys. Thank you for hitting the like button. Thank you for coming through and listening. But yeah, you're going to have to make a decision. You're going to have to make a decision. You're going to make a decision, y'all. And you got to be ready to leave people behind. That's going to be one of the most difficult tasks. You have to leave certain people behind. And that's just the way it is. You can't convince everybody. You can't bring everybody along. Sometimes you just got to say, All right, do it your way. Have at it. I'm going to be over here stocking up on freedom seeds, storable food, buying land, raising farm animals. And you can continue to live in your little stacking packs and your little condominiums, and, you know, with all the central air, right? All the interconnected central air systems where they can easily slip something in. Yeah, go ahead. With your little 5G transmitters all over the place. Go ahead and stay there. Me, I'm good. I don't need it. Sometimes you got to be okay with just letting motherfuckers go to the wayside. And with that, I'm going to holler at y'all later. Much love. Like, share, subscribe. And we're going to keep marching forward toward freedom. Peace.